back. This is John.
Hey, it's Paul.
And it's Eric.
And it's If Geeks. And we are here a little bit late, but better late than never, with the review of Wonder Woman 84. So I can say this much. After the first one, my anticipation for this one was decent. It wasn't like mind-blowing because of, I guess, maybe because of Warner Brothers and DCU's track record. I wasn't really holding my breath too much for this one, but I liked the first one well enough, so I was kind of hoping this one would be better. So, and we'll get into that in a bit. What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I thought the first one was really good. I thought it hit the right tones of, it wasn't dark, it wasn't campy, it wasn't cheesy, there was a good story, and a good sort of origin story, and I thought it was really good. And so I had good hopes for this one and was disappointed just because I think my anticipation and my expectations were too high. I think there's a couple of things here that missed the mark for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
100% with you. You said the first one wasn't cheesy. I agree. This one was absolutely cheesy and hammy at the same time.
Yeah,
good sandwich.
Yeah. We'll get into it more, but Pedro Pascal chewed the scenery like it was a fucking sandwich. So, so I guess who wants to start? Paul, you actually wrote notes for this one, so you want to give it a start?
Yeah, so we'll do a quick. Sometimes when we review movies, we go through scene by scene. But what I did was just sort of draft a kind of quick sketch of what happens, hit the sort of the high points, and then we'll go into some discussion. So, quick plot highlights. I mean, we see Diana having just been sad since the end of World War I, right? And Steve Trevor seemingly dies at the end of Wonder Woman 1. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen it. You just see her sort of being.
I haven't seen it. Why the fuck are you watching this movie?
Right. So you see her being sad since the end of that one, and one of the first sort of major Wonder Woman things we see is she breaks up this suburban mall jewelry store heist that turns hostage situation. She runs in and does all the lasso tricks and ends up saving the day. I guess she stops for a slice at Sbarro and grabs an Orange Julius. The jewelry store is discovered to be a front for the sale of black market exotic stones and jewels. Diana works at the Smithsonian, and her colleague Barbara Minerva, the typical nerd girl comic book trope, glasses, disheveled hair, frumpy clothes.
Yeah. Like she was channeling Irma from the Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Right. Typical sort of 80s, 90s movie. What's that movie with Freddie Prinze Jr. and the girl's the really hot girl is all nerded up at the beginning of the movie and then she turns out to be hot?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah. Exactly what they did.
Yeah. So
she's all that.
There you go.
Thank you.
The FBI asks Barbara Minerva, played by Kristen Wiig, to examine this stone and see if it's rare. It turns out not to be rare, but it is they figure out through folklore that it's a wish stone and it grants the user its greatest wish. It's got a hidden cost that we find out later. Diana just happens to be handling the stone when Barbara asks her what her wish would be. She thinks to herself, says, "I know what it would be," and then you see this little rush of wind. And then the two of them go hang out. She thinks Diana is just the greatest and most stylish and coolest and whatever. And then as Barbara is walking home, she's about to get attacked at the park. Diana comes and saves her. And she runs back to her office, grabs the wish stone, and wishes to be just like Diana. You see the rush of wind again. And overnight, she becomes sort of more graceful, better able to walk in high heels. She's not clumsy anymore.
People like her.
Yeah, right. People are hanging on her stories and she's interesting. And so they have this big gala party at the Smithsonian, and Max Lord shows up, who is the new museum benefactor. And then the interesting, Diana goes to the party. She says she never goes to these things. She goes to these things. And this dude shows up who I think is literally dressed in a members only jacket, but says the right things to Diana, says the thing that Steve Trevor said at the end of Wonder Woman 1, which is, I wish we had more time, and then hands her the watch. And you can see it's not Steve Trevor. Right. And then the camera turns and Diana sees him as Steve Trevor. And so...
Right, yeah, they do like this 360 thing where as it goes around her, then it becomes Steve Trevor.
Right. And so we'll put a pin in that for a second because it's really not him, and that raises all sorts of weird questions. Max Lord is an infomercial guy, Ponzi schemer, who's got this oil company that is busted, and but he's still trying to be one of those TV success guys. He knows that the stone is somewhere at the Smithsonian. He convinces Barbara to go back to her office, flatters her, they start making out. He gets the stone, steals it. And then he at some point figures out what he's going to do with the stone. Max takes the stone, wishes actually to become the Wish Stone and take on its power. The stone dissolves and Max can suddenly grant people's wishes, along with the ability to take from them what they find the most valuable. And so that starts to happen. We figure out that he goes to this Arabic country to find the number one sort of oil sheik, takes his oil, takes his security force, etc., which leads to another big battle scene. We find Diana starting to lose her powers. Barbara's getting stronger. She starts looking like this sort of rocker chick.
Which, by the way, I keep forgetting how hot Kristen Wiig actually is. But
right?
She hides it well in most movies.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they do that. They always do that nerd thing with her, right? She's the funny girl, and she doesn't get to be the romantic lead very often. But they've got her sort of hotted up in this movie. She's getting stronger, but Barbara's getting stronger, but it's taking her humanity. And when she sees the guy that attacked her in the park, drunk somewhere, she just kicks the absolute shit out of him.
She's about to kill him.
Yeah, and comes close to killing him. So keep going. Diana's losing her powers, getting Steve back, but it's weakening her. Max is getting more powerful, more wealthy, getting better access. At one point, he gets a meeting. He gets someone to wish for a meeting with President Reagan. That's where I think the movie starts to go off the rails a little bit.
That was it? Okay.
Yeah, he's getting more and more powerful and more wealthy, but it is taking his health. And so Diana figures out that in order to counteract the wish, you have to renounce your wish. But Max and Barbara are not going to do that. Max figures out how to touch millions of people by this satellite. And,
that got iffy too.
Yeah, and so he figures out where that is, where it broadcasts from. So he goes. That's the scene where they have the final fight. Barbara has lost such humanity that she is now in half human, half cheetah form.
Well, he grants her one extra wish. She decides she wants to be an apex predator.
Yeah.
That's what she gets. He's like, I already made my wish. And he said, well, I can do whatever I want.
I gave you a freebie.
Yeah.
So
he bends the rules and gives her the cheetah powers.
Yeah. They have the big fight. Wonder Woman wins it, goes inside. And while Max is broadcasting to the entire world and people are getting their wishes, and like one guy wishes for his wife to drop dead, and other people are wishing for, to be famous or to get a nuclear bomb from a terrorist organization. Diana manages to get the lasso on him, talk to the world, and convince them to give up their wish, to go against everything they just wished for, to give it all up for the good of humanity, and that's what ends up winning. She doesn't win the day by strength. It's not by some sort of superpower. It is because she's got more heart and humanity than everyone else, and manages to convince them to do what's not in their best interest selfishly, but to do something for the greater good. And then everything starts to unravel. All the wishes and all the bad stuff starts to come apart, and the world is safe. Diana renounced her wish, so she got her powers back, and so now she can love again, which obviously is good news for Bruce Wayne later on, because she was sure she would never love again, and Steve says, no, that's not true. And then she meets that guy that she thought, that to her looked like Steve Trevor, but she meets him later at the very end of the movie, and it's, sort of weird.
Mildly magical.
Yeah. So it's interesting that the way she wins is by, doing this thing not out of her strength, which she does in the first movie. And I wonder, and I think it's the first sort of discussion question that I ask is, do we think that this is, they're so using that angle, and I wonder if it's because Wonder Woman's female, and we've already seen her be strong in the first movie. This is not something we've seen out of a hero movie where the hero is a male, right? It's not a Batman thing. It's not a Superman thing. Right. We've never seen this before from a male hero. Do you think it would ever work with Batman, Superman, Iron Man? It's not even like an Ant-Man thing.
I'm not sure that it works here.
Right.
I mean, if I'm being real honest, it's ironic too, because in this movie she has like all the fucking powers. Like,
she gets new ones.
Well, bring it. I'm getting everything.
Something.
So
before we get into all the discussions, one last thing I want to say about the end of that movie was something that you don't see in every superhero movie. While she's appealing to everyone, she does manage to get through to Maxwell Lord, and he realizes that the thing that he was losing was his son, and he renounces his wish too, and goes after his kid. So you actually do see a redemption of a villain, which you don't see a lot in these things. Usually, most superhero movies that we've watched, outside of a handful, have been one-off villain dies, done. Here you actually get a complete redemption of him. Well, not complete, but you get a redemption of him at the end, which was interesting to me. Cheesy as hell, but interesting. But okay, so now let's go into how she has all the powers. Because my first contention with this started back when the trailers came. And for fucking Lasso. Okay, the Lasso of Truth is now the DC equivalent of Spawn's cape.
It is everything.
Because it just does whatever she wants. And granted, I don't have enough actual Wonder Woman comic knowledge to know if it's that detailed in what she can do with it, but I didn't think it was. And it was just like, I mean, to the point where like she's throwing the lasso out and like making shapes with it and catching bullets. Like one bullet, she catches one bullet with this fucking thing, which was cool. It was a cool effect. However, like when the hell was she? I would have accepted better if she had whipped it and it like snapped. The end of the lasso snapped at the bullet and it blew up or something like that, you know. But she caught the fucking bullet and like threw it back or threw it up to the side. It was so weird.
Or lassos the lightning bolt.
She lassoed lightning. I said that back when we watched the trailer. I was like, what the fuck is this movie doing? So the lasso was like one of my biggest points of contention in this movie. But go ahead, Eric. Yes, all the powers.
Yeah, all I was going to say is that she ironically has all the powers in this movie and doesn't use them to win. It's got to be something like more. She convinces the entirety of the world to give up their wishes from the Wishmaster, right? Like, okay. All right, cool. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. It's it's not a good plot line to me anyway.
No.
I thought that if he were the wish stone, that if he would have renounced his wish, that should have undone everyone else's. Like, she shouldn't have to convince the entire world.
Yeah, and that actually could have been a better ending, to just have her convince him that he's doing the wrong thing and, remember your son. But no, I guess that wasn't good enough. It's got to be.
Right, so
it's got to be how she can get through to everybody in the world because she's the best superhero in the world.
Yeah.
She's the only one left that believes in humanity, basically, is how they set it up, right?
Yep.
I would say, like, to your point, like if you allow for the fact that it works here, quote unquote, the only other hero that this could possibly ever work for would be Superman, because he's like the big blue Boy Scout.
Yeah.
But even still, like, it wouldn't work there. But yeah, I mean, to Eric's point, I don't think it works here either.
Yeah, fuck, she's half Superman now anyway, so fuck it, it's fine.
True.
I thought a couple things. I thought Max wishing to be the Wish Stone was weird, and that I thought he would have just like, he would have been a more believable villain had he just wished for money and power, right? And then because you see he's a demonstrably terrible guy, and would have used it for all sorts of bad stuff. Like, he would have been a lesser Lex Luthor, but
which is actually him in the comics.
Correct.
He's
also not a wish granter in the comics. He's got psychic powers and shit, right? It has nothing to do with it. It's like Warner Brothers was like, what the fuck are we going to do? Hey, you know what? We've done 4 Wishmaster movies. The last couple were shit. Maybe we could reinvigorate the franchise if we just made it crossover. Wishmaster 5, Woman 1984.
Right. I thought it was really ironic that you had this wish stone that they found in a jewelry store. So it tied into Diana's work as a curator at a museum. Like, well, that was convenient. So it was almost like they went back, like, well, what can we do with this movie? Well, she works as a curator, and they went from there. Like, it was weird.
And then somehow she can make things invisible.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. All right, so.
Fun nod to the fans of the old cartoon series and the old comics where you get the invisible jet.
Right.
However, how we got there, that's one of my biggest complaints with this movie is I liked all the little nods to the fans and different things, but how they got to those nods was like, you're breaking your neck to get to them.
I agree, dude. That particular, that was, of all the power things, that one was just slightly above the flight for me. But like, they stole a jet and then she's like, oh, I remember this thing I used to be able to do where I could make shit invisible. Wait a minute, what the fuck?
Right. and I love that at the Smithsonian where they keep the jets on display, that one's just gassed up and ready to go. You can just jump in them and go.
Pick one.
Right. They're all ready.
Apparently her other power is to automatically dump fuel into a tank.
Right. That was interesting. I don't think that Barbara renounced her wish. That's the one person I didn't see. Like, you see her sit there looking at the sunrise, but I never heard her say, I renounce my wish.
Yeah, I don't think she did, because that would leave a play for Cheetah later.
Yeah.
To be smart.
Or if they do like a Legion of Doom movie or something.
Yeah. Okay, so all right, here, a pro. I think Kristen Wiig did a really good job.
Yeah.
All the way through, from the nerdy lab person through when she started to get powers, and then when they actually did the whole CGI cheetah thing. Now, granted, they kept her in the dark mostly because it was CGI, and okay, so to their benefit or to their credit, they kept her in the dark because it was CGI. So they have a fight at night where there's not a whole lot of light going on, so that they can hide the CGI a little bit better. But she looked good. Like, I liked it. It wasn't horrible. It was definitely at least 20 steps up from Steppenwolf.
And it's more believable in that someone who starts that nerdy and gets these powers would not want you to undo what's happened to her. Like, all the cool stuff that she thinks has happened to her.
Yeah.
I don't care how it affects anybody else. I'm keeping this.
Yeah.
Especially a villain, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Which I'm sure they'll undo that in the next one. Like she'll have some redemption arc or some shit, because they always do. But I mean, she has comics too. She later on in life she kind of skirted that for a little while, but she always goes back as a villain.
Okay, the part I think we need to talk about is the Steve Trevor is not really back. Is just she just sees this dude as Steve Trevor,
which is really weird.
It's bizarre for like 1,000 reasons, right? Because like, was that just some random dude who's like soul or person or whatever just vanished so he could be there?
Yeah. And then he comes back at the end of the movie like nothing happened. Like,
what's been going on, guy? What are you talking about? Invisible jets and flying women? What?
Like he's just standing next to her in the street, like talking about how nice the snow is or the fireworks or whatever. Like, dude, you've been gone for a week. You didn't notice?
Right.
At the very least, you would think you'd be home trying to figure out what the fuck happened to yourself.
Right. Like, how did you lose a week of your life and you were in some foreign country and you had this big fight and you hooked up with super hot Wonder Woman?
You know what? I've lost a few days in foreign countries too, but I was only thinking time. You didn't
one morning wake up with Gal Gadot, did you?
No, unfortunately.
Right. So all that time, like, they have this moment, right, where they're in bed and they're they're cutesy and whatever, and you just keep thinking that's not actually Steve Trevor.
Yeah, it's so weird. There's a dick size joke in there somewhere, but I'm just gonna leave it alone. Like, did you see the difference?
I have to wonder why they did it that way. Like, it was a wish; anything could have happened.
Right.
Like, what was the point of that? Nobody was gonna recognize this dude. He's been dead a long time.
Right.
He couldn't just come back.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Maybe it was a way to explain away the fact that he wouldn't have had like an ID and a passport. He couldn't have gotten to a foreign country, but even then, it's a wish anyway. So I guess all that shit could have come with it, right?
Yeah, he didn't need a passport. They stole the fucking plane and flew away. but even still, though, like, you could have just brought him back physically through the wish stone.
Correct.
Because by the end of the movie, he goes away again anyway.
Right.
So, yeah, so definitely a very weird way to do it.
Yeah, indeed.
Unnecessarily weird. So, well, whatever.
I agree. And on the note of kind of strangeness, did you notice there was almost 2 opening scenes to this movie?
Yeah.
Like they almost sort of half rehashed the origin story. Not really, you know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, this is where she came from. She's badass, like a god, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then we're going to go to 1984 and do this again.
Yeah.
It was a really strange. I read somewhere that Patty Jenkins said that she needed to do that for anybody that hadn't seen the original. But imagine if that were the standard. Every sequel, 4 or 5, we got to rehash everything. Like, why?
Yeah. No, there was no reason for that. I mean, no. I mean, you can, if you wanted to defend it, you could say like the only thing they took out of that scene for the rest of the movie was like a little lesson that she learns at the end of that, where she can't cheat her way to victory or whatever. But even still, like, that was kind of forced into the end of it. If you want to take that from that and put it at the end, you're kind of forcing it into it. It doesn't quite fit what happens at the end of the movie. But I mean, if you want to defend it, you can kind of make it fit. It's kind of weird. Like I said, the whole movie was kind of weird, but it wasn't great. It was not great by any means.
Let's go through some of the fight/action scenes, and Eric brings up the first one, which is young Diana, who's every bit of like 10 years younger potentially than everybody else, the other Amazons competing. Like, she's looked to be like 8 or 9, with everyone in their like 20s maybe. In this sort of Amazon Ninja Warrior game, where you've got to like do all these things.
She's in it.
Yeah, and she's at one point winning it, like not just having to climb up the stuff and jump through the things and whatever, and get on horseback and grab the bow off the ground and grab the arrows out of the thing and shoot them through the hoops and do all the stuff. Like, she's actually winning at one point, which is completely unbelievable.
And you could say it's because she's part like a demigod or whatever the hell she is, that maybe her abilities are better, and that's fine because it's why she's Wonder Woman, and that's fine. However, like, just the fact that she's even in the contest at all is like, she came in the last second. It was just like, okay,
right.
Well, and don't forget the first movie. I mean, she's a kid when this sort of goes down, but they don't show her until she's got to be like teens or something by the time she's training with I forgot her name, but she's training with her with sword fighting and stuff. So I guess it must have just started right after, and then we pick it up in the first movie when she's like, I don't know, she's gonna be like 16 years old or something. She's much older anyway.
Yeah. So it's weird. Yeah,
and she's getting her ass whooped. I mean, which is part of that origin storyline thing, right?
Maybe she was lazy that day. Yeah, it's very inconsistent with its predecessor.
So after that one, then we get the second opening, which is the mall jewelry store robbery, which turns into a bit of a hostage situation, and then she shows up. And this is the first we see her use the lasso in some of these ways.
I could have liked this scene were it not for the lasso. It actually bothered me. I'm like, holy Jesus, man. I'm like,
the lasso.
Why don't you just stand on the bottom floor and fucking whip the lasso around,
right?
For Christ's sake?
Right. You don't need to do anything.
Done. But because it opens up basically with something that I actually appreciated, because from Batman versus Superman or whatever, where like she's been in the background or whatever, I was like, how the fuck has she been around since World War I and nobody knows who the fuck she is? And she does that one thing with her tiara where she breaks all the cameras, which makes sense for her back in the 80s because, she knocks them all out and really there's nothing they can do about it. It's not like, I don't know, nowadays we've got like Bluetooth, wireless shit, whatever.
And everyone's got a phone in their pockets, right?
Yeah, everyone's got a phone in their pocket, right. So it would be word of mouth. Some chick came through and beat the fuck out of everybody, and people are like, yeah, okay, whatever. So that part of it was like, oh, cool. Okay, so they explained why she hasn't been seen, but she has been helping people, right? She's like a rumor. But then, then they go with the lasso of amazability, and this thing does everything. Whatever.
Well, it's tired, right? It's tired writing if the lasso can do everything, right? Because I think it was just Eric, like, why does she have to do anything? Just snap, grab, flip, like whatever.
And she half does that.
Yeah.
And she still goes and like, because it's cool fight scenes and slow-mo, she does some shit. But outside of that, she's just standing there with the lasso doing shit. Lasso, and it's like, come on, really? They did better with the lasso in like the Justice League movie and Batman vs Superman, when like when she sat it under Aquaman's ass and he started telling everybody how much he loved them or whatever, that was a better use of this fucking lasso than everything in the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she had it in the first movie. But they didn't rely on it the way they do now, right? It wasn't. Right. It's a crutch, I think.
It is. Like I said, it's very much Spawn's cape from the movie back in the 90s. It's like just this big CGI thing that does whatever the hell you want. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's what helps her fly before she can fly. It's what makes her swing through the air like Spider-Man, and not like normal. Like, it's like the old Spider-Man games where you could like shoot the web straight up in the air. There was like just sky there, but it caught something anyway, and you just kept going.
Yeah,
it's like out of control. It can be like 1,000 feet long when she needs it to be. It's like, what the fuck? And it grabs lightning, so I'm just.
The next fight scene is the Middle Eastern country Bialya, which I'm glad they named, because I think this has a getting this into the DCEU. This is not the Black Adam country, right? But it's a DCEU sort of, even in the comics, that's a Middle Eastern sort of country that there's a there's another villain that comes out of there at some point.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know.
So this is Max is driving away with the Sultan's security guards, and she's trying to catch them. Trucks, tanks, APCs, truck-mounted guns, and you see her starting to lose her power. She gets shot, and for the first time bleeds.
Yeah,
a decent scene.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. It was good. It showed her vulnerability. So.
Then a weaker Wonder Woman, the White House fight, John, the one you have on your background.
Yeah, that nobody's going to see.
Yeah, that. Oh, right, we're just on audio. That they have this fight in the White House and the guy that Max gets in a meeting with the president. By the way, the guy that plays Ronald Reagan is terrible. Didn't look anything like Reagan to me.
I didn't even know that was supposed to be Reagan.
Yeah.
Shows you how much I was paying attention.
That fight, Cheetah whips her ass. And that's when Diana realizes that she's got to renounce her wish to bring Steve back because she's got to go save the world. And then the big final battle, Wonder Woman gets the armor that is mentioned near the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, what's her name? Ephesus?
Euphoria?
Yeah, Euphoria. There you
Something like that.
Sure, we'll go with that. That sounds good.
Something like that. The station, I don't know, whatever.
The station. Euphoria.
She gets that armor in that last scene, which is their legendary Amazonian warrior. Cheetah ends up taking the wings off of it, but anyway, she wins the fight. Good CGI in that fight, I thought.
Yeah. I like that fight scene, but I did think it was a little reliant on the CGI there. It was a little bit crazy.
Yeah. I allowed for it a little bit just because it involved Cheetah, so you had to have that CGI in there because she's going to be bouncing around all over the place. But yeah, it was a good fight scene.
Yeah, it's probably the only one that I liked. But I watched it with Becca, and she's like, "What's going on? Like, nobody's getting electrocuted and all this, but then all of a sudden the electrical wires are falling to the ground, and then everybody's dead."
Yeah.
Or not everybody, but Cheetah. Yeah, it was a little bit. Well, I don't want to say this, but it's a little bit Marvel-esque and sort of going over the top with the busting everything and like going way outside of the bounds of the combat. You know what I mean? Just being a little wild with it, which is, I mean, it's fine. I think I expect that from superhero movies, but it was probably the best fight scene, I think, in the movie.
Let me skip ahead to this one, and then we'll end with how many magic lassos we give it. Is there a plot point at which you think it could have been a better ending? Villain, like where did it go off the rails for you, or was it never on them? Too cheesy from the beginning. Like, if you go back and say, okay, well, at this point, if this would have happened, it could have been a better outcome.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of little things that sort of added up for me. I think the ridiculous level of idealism that Diana Prince has after what she's already seen in the first movie, like, okay, all right, that's a little bit extreme. And then the fact by the end of the movie that she's basically convinced the entirety of the world to, agree with her. And yeah, it's bad. We got to undo this, guys. She knows what she's talking about. But yeah. all that was kind of a little ridiculous for me. But then all these other little plot points kind of drove me nuts to the point where I felt like I was watching a cheesy movie made by someone that isn't really all that into comics or something. Like, you know, like from her boyfriend coming back to one thing with the invisible fucking jet, and it's like, oh, come on. I just...
Well, all right, so the point of that really bothered me, outside of Steve Trevor, that one, you can't explain that one away at all. The other part that really bothered me was, all right, so the entire point of this wish stone is you're supposed to hold it and say what you wish for, right? Now, one, everyone's supposed to say it out loud. So, Diana doesn't. But whatever. Okay, fine. Good away from that. Max Lord wishes to be the stone, so he absorbs it. That's out of it. Like, whatever. Now, you still have to touch the wish stone, so he's got to hold everybody's hands and have them wish, right? So they still say the wish in front of him, and he takes what they love most, whatever. So that's all well and good if you want to accept the fact that the wish stone just absorbs into him. This whole satellite, because somebody says, using this new satellite technology, we're going to be
Oh God! Don't even get me on that part.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what, we're going to be able to touch the world. Just because you say you can touch the world, that makes this okay.
Right.
So then he basically broadcasts himself to the world and tells them, "Look in my eyes and wish for what you want." He can't see them.
Right.
But everybody's wish starts coming true.
Yeah.
Like you just go so far simply on the word touch. Like it's just ridiculous. And then you get to the point where if you've gone that far in your denial of reality, the fact that she can use the lasso of truth to touch the whole world, because that's what she's doing. Mm-hmm. So she makes them see the truth or whatever, because this lasso, it used to just, you can only, you can't lie to her or whatever the fuck it does, But now it makes the entire world see that she's right and they renounce their wish. That whole plot is so way the fuck over there.
Yep.
That I was just like, okay, whatever. Can we go back to fighting Cheetah again, please?
Right.
I'm so done. That was the point where I was completely done.
Yeah.
I was like, thank God this movie's over.
That was it for me too. I think you could have had this really interesting, because you get there, right? Because Reagan wished for more nuclear warheads than Russia had. And so when they come online, now you've got an actual world crisis. And I think she could have, even if she manages to convince Max to give up his wish, that should have undone everyone else's wishes. And
right.
That's a better ending, right, than basing on your definition of the word touch. Because I thought that part made it ridiculous.
Because then you're the amount of what this wish stone does and doesn't do varies depending on what they need it to do. Much like the lasso, where if you renounce your wish, an entire wall around the city comes down. However, when Maxwell Lord renounced his wish, not everything went back to normal. He shows up looking for his kid in a debris scattered field in front of the White House. Mm-hmm. So either it's all or nothing. Again, to your point, it's very lazy writing.
Right, the warheads just dissolve in midair as they're flying.
Yeah, but all the overturned trash cans and broken buildings.
Right, they all stay.
So
yeah. It felt like they either did a bunch of revisions on the script, or at some point they're like, all right, if we don't bring this in for a landing, we're already at an hour and 45 minutes. What are we going to do here? Well, just do this. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's another good point too. It's too long. It's too long for what they did.
Yeah.
2.5 hours. Why was it 2.5 hours?
I don't know. Wonder Woman could have used her powers to make half of this movie invisible.
or use the magic lasso to lasso half of it away.
Yeah, something.
Oh, shit.
All right, so we'll end on this. How many magic lassos on the scale of 1 to 10 do you give this movie?
Wait. We can't end on that. We can't end on that, though. We have to do one more thing. You guys watch through the credits?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, because I was going to comment on that, and then I went to pee, and I forgot. Pee brain.
Did you watch through the credits, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So
cameo.
Big spoiler alert cameo here, but yeah.
Whatever her name is, Eurethus, Athena, Urethra, whatever the fucking name is, the original god.
The Asteria,
the original Amazonian who died to save them, in their legend remember her because you get a shot of a woman from the back is walking to a city and she saves a little girl from something falling, right? A pillar. It's like a pillar or some shit falling, and she just catches it in one hand, tosses it to the side like it's paper mache, puts the little girl down, and the little girl's like, "Oh wow," and she's like, "I've been doing," and then the woman turns to her because you think it's Diana in like in disguise, right? Because she's wearing like a cloak. The woman turns to her and says, "I've been doing this a really long time," and it's fucking Linda Carter.
Yeah.
The original Wonder Woman. To me, that was probably one of the best things about this whole movie, was that they brought the original Wonder Woman from the TV show cameo as their legendary goddess. That was cool.
Yeah, that was really well done.
I liked it too. So,
and I can definitely see that becoming something in like number 3, maybe like she'll help her out with something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's even some hidden sort of throwbacks there because there's a golden statue of Asteria at the end of the Olympic game thing. Those Olympic games are held in her honor. There's sort of like, I don't know, a tiny bit of build up to what's coming at the end. That's kind of a just cool little thing they did. So I appreciate that. I'm not going to give them a golden lasso for it, but I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. So out of 10,
we're doing this out of 10.
Sure.
Damn.
That's a big range, man.
Yeah. What are we gonna do out of 5? Like, pick your number.
Well, you only apparently need one lasso for everything. So, do you give it 1 or not?
That was good. Thanks.
That was good.
All right, I'd give it 6 golden lassos out of 10. It wasn't the worst DCU movie, but they really need to step up their game with what's coming up next. Batman, The Flash, and we can get into a little bit of that after we get done talking about this. Well, we'll talk about that in the New Year episode. But they need to step it up.
I think I'm right in the middle here. 5, maybe 6, but no, probably 5. I think special effects are decent. I love Gal Gadot. I like some of the callback stuff that they did in this, but ultimately this story was kind of garbage to me, and they went a little too heavy on the, oh my God, here's all her powers in an hour. And I think on top of that, to know that this is the second of a trilogy, I'm just a little bit disappointed this is where we're at. So
yeah, Empire Strikes Back was
not.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm thinking 6, like a soft 6, something like that.
And for Gal Gadot to get a soft anything is kind
of... it does, though. It does reduce my expectations for the next one. Like, they don't have to do as good to now get to a better number. All the expectation was on this one, and I think it fell short.
Yeah. So now I guess they got to work really hard on this next one. But we'll get into that in the next episode. But yeah, so not a great movie. I mean, decent way to pass time when there's really nothing new coming out. So that was okay. I mean, it was a decent Christmas gift because there's nothing else coming out right now. But I don't know.
I wonder what this would have made in a non-pandemic box office.
I think it would have made a lot of money.
It would have made a lot of money the first week, but the drop off to the second week would have been huge.
And I think that actually happened here because as far as at least pandemic times go, this movie has made more than any other movie in the box office since theaters reopened. That doesn't say a lot. And it was only like 16.7 million, but it's been the most so far. Since reopenings.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess that's it, right?
Yep.
Everybody.
Unfortunately, that's not all she wrote, but yes, that's it for this episode.
Should have been all she wrote. Somebody else in there. Whoops. Sorry. All right, everybody, like and subscribe, ring a bell, comment below what you thought of the movie. If you think we're way off, if you absolutely loved it, or if you hated it, whatever, somewhere in between. If you're a 6 lasso out of 10, tell us. Hit us up at whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks at Facebook, Gmail, Instagram, Twitter, all that happy shit. All right, that's it. Good night, Tony.
Good night, random guy that appears to be Steve Trevor.
Good night, Linda Carter.